Hey guys, welcome to the Wedding Vendors Happy Hour with your hosts, Derek and Jade.
What's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in and welcome to episode number 23 of the Wedding Vendors Happy Hour. Again, my name is Derek with DP Films Productions.
My name is Jade with Justice Promised Events. Today we chat with Anthony Salas, founder of Epic Entertainment, an amazing group of wedding DJs, lighting, and photo booth experts along the Central Coast that specializes in awesomeness. Epic keeps your event classy and rocks the dance floor at the same time. Anthony's been a guest speaker for WMBA and runs Central Coast Bride.
That's right. This is going to be one awesome episode as we get a little glimpse into Anthony's world. So grab a drink, take a seat, and let's get to it. Yo, what's up, Anthony? Thanks for taking the time to be a part of our show. How's it going, man?
Good. Thanks for doing this.
Hey, thank you for always letting us use your office here for our podcast episodes.
Anytime.
Yeah, it means a lot. It's really cool. A lot of people. Yeah. So to start off this podcast, we always like the vendors to mention who they are, what they do, and how long they've been doing it. Go for it.
All right. Anthony Salas. We've got Epic Entertainment, which owns Epic Entertainment, the DJ company, photo booth, lighting, casino, all that stuff, as well as Butler's Rents and Central Coast Bride and our sub brand, which is called Standard Sound.
Oh, cool. Standard Sound. What's Standard Sound? So
Standard Sound is actually, it's an offshoot of Epic, and it's actually where we train our DJs. So a lot of times we'll have clients that'll call us and want Epic, and sometimes they can't afford it. And so basically what we do is we take DJs that want to become our regular Epic DJs, and in order to give them real life experience, we put them in our other company called Standard Sound, which is much less expensive. And we tell the clients up front, we have DJs that can do this for you. They're not as experienced, but they need real life experience. So if you guys are okay with helping them out and getting someone that maybe doesn't have years and years of experience like some of our other guys. And a lot of times they're like, I just need someone to push play, or I don't need someone that's super polished because we don't want any announcing or anything. And that's a perfect spot to give our DJs some extra practice without necessarily flying under the Epic banner that they're going to expect, perfection that our Epic DJs do. Mm-hmm. They get real life practice. So
that's so cool.
Yeah, that's super cool. So they're ready and formed to the Epic ways by the time they jump on board with you.
Yeah. The cool thing about it too, is that as we're bringing them up, there's a huge pay increase for them from going from a Standard Sound DJ to an Epic DJ. Mm-hmm. So because they want so bad to become an Epic DJ and not stay a Standard Sound DJ, they will a lot of times give a lot more than our guys that already know that they're awesome and they follow the structure. But with our Standard Sound DJs, a lot of times those guys are giving 110% because they're trying so hard to get promoted and move up. So it's an interesting.
That's so cool. I want to be an apprentice for it. That'd be cool.
Nice. So you've been around for a long time, and you're just super known and huge in the wedding industry here. So we're just really curious on, how did you first start Epic Entertainment? Take us to the beginning.
So Epic Entertainment is really, I can tell you my path to Epic Entertainment, but Epic is really a combination of several paths that have all crossed and then kind of ended up going into one path together. So I guess to kind of start way back in the day. So I started DJing in 94, and my dad was a DJ.
Oh, cool.
So he's a banker, and on the side, he would DJ on the weekends. I grew up in San Diego, where there was a huge Jewish community. And he would do lots and lots of bar and bat mitzvahs. And I got to go to a lot of those. And every now and then I would go to a wedding with him, but it's not very often. It wasn't very professional to take like a 12-year-old kid to a wedding. So, but I saw him do a lot of bar and bat mitzvahs because I was in that age range where I fit in. So even if they didn't know that I was necessarily coming with the DJ, they thought, oh, there's just another kid here. So I got to go, and I was just a roadie, I'd help him set up gear, and it was just a good time for me to hang out with my dad as well. I started doing some high school dances. I realized that the school across town wasn't really doing dances. So I went across town and said, hey, I can DJ your dances if you want. And that's so cool. I got them as a client and my high school as a client. And then I just started doing like backyard parties, whatever I could pick up at from buddies and friends. And then I started doing a couple weddings here and there. I did a couple of my teachers' weddings. I did a couple weddings for church friends and things along those lines. And when I graduated high school, I knew that the only way to like make serious money doing this was in weddings, doing, after game dances for a couple $100 a weekend wasn't going to cut it. So started doing weddings. And at that point we had moved to a town called Merced up in the Valley, and started a company called the Valley Sound Machine.
Valley Sound Machine. Yeah.
Like obviously taken after the Miami Sound Machine. So do you guys know who that is?
No. Sorry.
So I did that for a while, sold that company, and moved over here. When I moved over here, I kind of took a break from music altogether, playing music because I play guitar as well. So I took a break from playing music and DJing. I kind of thought that I was going to get out of it entirely.
Oh, wow.
But it kind of sucked me back in after maybe 9 months of living here and not really having any real direction. My wife had gotten a job at Cal Poly, and I was just kind of floating, doing kind of whatever odd jobs here and there. Yeah. I kind of realized that DJing is really the only thing I'm really good at. So I decided I needed to DJ, and I decided I was going to start a DJ company. So what I did is I went around I tried to contact other DJ companies in the area, to get a feel of what was going on, what the atmosphere, the wedding industry was like in this area. Cause in where I'd come from in Merced, I knew all I just was looking for someone to hook me up with the industry. How do I get involved in this industry? And, everywhere. So oddly enough, the first company that I called, the first DJ company I called, the person who answered said, I wouldn't start a DJ company in this area if I were you. They said, I do almost all the weddings and every school dance in this area. So Jeez. don't even bother. And I was like, whoa, okay, interesting. But I thought, whatever, I'll keep asking around. And, I couldn't really get a hold of any DJ companies for some reason. I couldn't get callbacks or anything. So I opened the Yellow Pages. If you guys remember the Yellow Pages. And there was one company that had an address listed. Because most DJ companies are run out of their garage or something, so they didn't have a physical address. They weren't going to list their home as their address. But AMS Entertainment had their physical address listed on it. So I decided I was going to go, and I was going to meet someone in person. So I got there first thing in the morning. And as I'm sure you guys probably know, DJs don't usually wake up first thing in the morning. So even though I was there first thing in the morning, I waited a couple hours, and Sean showed up. Oh, wow. So Sean owned AMS Entertainment. So we were chatting, and we started talking about the industry. I was trying to impress him. He was clearly leaps and bounds above what Valley Sound Machine was. AMS was they had stuff dialed in. And then he had, we talked for a couple hours. He said, hey, I've got a luncheon that I have to go to. It happened to be a CCWP luncheon. He said, let's get together after my lunch. So after lunch, he called me back and was like, hey, you want to come back and keep talking? So I came back, and he said, during lunch, I talked to my wife about this, and he said, I need a new office manager. He's like, do you want to be the office manager?
Nice.
And I was like, oh, okay. Well, that's not really what I came for, but if you make a good enough offer, like, well, we can work something out. And he said, I just happened to lose my office manager that worked for me for 14 years.
Dang.
He had just lost his office manager, and he's like, I need a new office manager. And so I was like, well, this will be easier than starting a company from scratch. So I started doing that. The interesting thing that I didn't know at the time, because I was so new to the area, is that the person that was his manager for 14 years prior was Chris Bailey. And I didn't know him at all. I didn't know him from anybody at the time. So obviously, as the industry goes, you get to know people, you start meeting people, and, I figured, put two and two together, started figuring things out. And then 2008 hit, and, Sean said, I can't afford to pay the bills and keep you on full time, but I want to keep you as a DJ, but I just can't afford to pay you to be in the office at the same time. So I said, okay, I'll just be one of the regular DJs instead of the office manager and a DJ. And on a kind of a randomish whim, after a conversation with my insurance agent one day, I decided I could sell insurance. My insurance agent was actually the one that's like, you'd be a good insurance salesman. And I was like, oh, I guess somebody has to do that, right? Like, so I got my insurance licenses. I got 4 different insurance licenses to sell life, property and casualty, and to sell stocks and bonds and and things like that. And then I got a job at AAA. So I was working at AAA Monday through Friday, selling insurance, and then DJing on the weekends.
Hustling.
So and AAA was a great job. Like, it was a very good job, but about a year to the day that I started working there, I got fired.
Oh no.
And it's just because I was always pulling pranks. I was always being goofy.
Oh, yeah.
I was always screwing around, I always hit all my sales numbers and everything. So that wasn't the issue, but I was always, and they were very, very corporate. Like, you couldn't mess around. You couldn't, and it's just not like how I am in general. Yeah. So, anyways, they're like, here, no,
get out of here.
The technical reason that I got, fired was, manipulation of company technology. So
just threw something in there.
So no, I mean, that's another story for another time, but there's a good reason why they put that on there.
Oh, geez.
So, of course I went back to Sean and I said, now I need a job. I need a real job. And this was several years later, because now it was a few years beyond,
the crash,
the recession. And, so I ended up working for AMS, I want to say 5 years total or something. 2 of those years I was in the office. The rest was outside of the office. Yeah. And then, and he didn't have a position for me. He's like, I can't do it, And so, I said, I got to start Epic. Mm-hmm. And so I started it. And then once I kind of got the ball rolling, then we started talking more. And so we did try to work out a deal where I would work at Epic, or I would work at AMS, I'm sorry. But it ended up not working out. So I started Epic, and of course, I started it in my garage. And it was just me by myself. And honestly, that's all I ever intended it to be. It was always just going to be, when I started, it was just going to be me.
Yeah.
And I got to a point when it was just me where I had too much equipment and I needed an office. So I started looking for a small office somewhere. And I was looking at this office one day, and Snap Cubby was right next door. was in the office next door, and Eric McClure at the time owned Snapcubby.
That's a cool name.
So, so I go next door and I'm chatting with him. I'm like, man, this would be cool if we were neighbors, right? You know, and he's like, yeah, this would totally be cool. He's like, the only problem is I'm moving out next month. And I was like, oh, bummer. I'm like, what? Why are you moving out, man? He's like, I'm out of this business. I'm done. I got a way better job and I'm out. I'm like, well, what the heck are you going to do with Snapcubby? He's like, well, I'm going to try and sell it if I can, or, you know, maybe sell off. He had 6 photo booths. He's like, maybe I'll just sell off the photo booths individually to people. He's like, I don't really know. He's like, would you be interested in buying it? And I was like, maybe, you know, I don't know. Sure. So, you know, we worked out a deal and I ended up buying Snapcubby. So now it went from being just me to now having 6 photo booth hosts and 6 photo booths to manage. And then I hired my first DJ that worked for me. So now there were 2 DJs and 6 photo booth hosts. And it was just my garage was not an option at all anymore at that point. And then Chris and I were actually working out at the gym together at the time. And we decided that it could be a cool thing if we merged our 2 companies. He had himself and another DJ. I had myself, another DJ, the 6 photo booth hosts, and I kind of went a different direction with mine. I had a lot of the newer like wireless lighting. He had the corded lighting. So we were like, there's a lot of stuff that we could interchange here to make this company bigger. So we did that. And then it just kind of grew naturally on its own at that point. So at that point we had 4 DJs, and then it went down to like 4 photo booth hosts or so. And it just got bigger and bigger. At that point we started having people come to us saying that they wanted to do things, which is how we've got a lot of our DJs. Rob Carter from Pacific Entertainment came to us and said, you know, I'm a college professor and I just don't have time during the school year to keep up with the contracts and all the contacts. I'd love to be able to DJ in the summer when there's nothing going on. But I don't have time to do all the back end work. So he's like, I'd like to come on board with. That's so cool. With Epic. Paul Thompson from Escape Entertainment, same thing. You know, he had a regular 9-to-5 job. And it was on a contract job that he was on. He was did some construction stuff. That contract ended and he's like, I want to keep doing this, but I don't want to do all the back end stuff. We eventually talked him into becoming our warehouse manager. So now he works for us full time as our warehouse manager.
Awesome. Paul's cool.
And then in kind of a weird roundabout thing, AMS was the biggest DJ company in the area for 15 or 20 years. And it got to a point where it was just Sean and one other DJ. So when that last DJ decided that he was not going to DJ anymore, we started talking to Sean about the possibility of coming over here. So it is kind of a weird thing because at one point, you know, Sean was mine and Chris's boss, and now it's been in flip flop, but it has not been awkward or weird. I mean, we're all such good friends and been friends for so long that it's not even a thing. So, and then, you know, in the meantime, we've bought a couple other companies. You know, Music Makers has come into our fold now. John from Music Makers is with us now. We just bought his company a few months ago. You know, we bought Butlers. CCB was kind of given to us. You know, just a lot of things kind of have happened around the energy that's constantly going on around Epic. So that's kind of how it came to be. Of course, you know, Chris has his story moving his way into Epic. Sean has his story of how he moved into Epic. You know, the other DJ companies have their story of how they came into Epic, but we all kind of merged into one path that turned into Epic. So we're really like this cord of a lot of other strands that have come together to build Epic.
That's so cool. So it's really fascinating hearing your story, Anthony, and you're known as like the business guru. So I was curious, like, it seems like you've had music and business like in your background? Like your dad, you said, was a banker and he also did music. Was it just natural? Because the way it sounded like everything happened so fast. Like, you bought businesses, you knew how to start a business, you knew how to grow. Like, how did that come about?
Well, honestly, it's not necessarily me. It's about the people that are around me that really do it. Because the strange thing is that when Chris and I decided we were going to put our two companies together, we decided that we were going to do that because we thought we were so like each other. We thought and in a lot of ways we were, when it came to ethics and morals and our families and things along those lines, we were very much aligned. But as far as business people, we couldn't be more different.
Yeah.
And in actuality, in hindsight, that is what made Epic, or is what makes Epic successful, is the fact that we've got the two of us leading it not in two different directions, but we've got our lanes. So I'm not good at day-to-day stuff, making sure that the DJs have this in their chord box, or that reminding a DJ that he needs to do something on a particular day. I am not good at that. That is not what I do. My thing is coming up with new ideas, figuring out how to make things bigger, better, looking more longer term as opposed to shorter term. And without the two of us doing both, Epic wouldn't exist. Epic wouldn't have gone this long if Chris weren't a part of it, because it's vital that we have those ingredients. And not only that, having Paul in the office, having Sean in the office, they're all vital ingredients to making sure that Epic works properly. And there's no way that I ever could have done that by myself. I just don't have that many skill sets. I have one very particular skill set, and I kind of make sure that the other holes are all filled with people who can fill those skills, because I just don't have them. So
that's cool. Like everyone's, like you said, like a strong piece of the puzzle. Everyone's holding this business together, which is really cool. And I like with these podcast interviews, I'm learning too as I ask you guys something. So like when you were doing your thing by yourself and you went to SnapCubby, how did you know how to negotiate and like break down a business deal to buy them out and stuff? Like, did your dad teach you? No,
a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
The good thing is that I had sold Valley Sound Machine when I lived in Merced. So I had some dealings with selling a business, being on the opposite end of it. And even now, I mean, we've had a lot of offers, believe me, a lot of offers that we've turned down of other companies, where we'll do deep dives into them and look at them and start working on negotiations. And sometimes we realize it's not a good fit. Sometimes we realize it's a distraction from where we need to be going. And sometimes we realize this could work out really well. How can we make this work? And so there's a lot of different ways to come about a merger or an acquisition, but I definitely have done a lot of homework on it, but I also have a lot of people that I lean on for that stuff. So I have a mentor that I use that I talk about all this stuff to, who has bought and sold multi-million-dollar businesses. Jeez. So when he looks at my business or the businesses that we're looking at either merging or acquiring, it's kind of peanuts to him. So it's easy work for him. So again, it's just making sure that I've got someone within arm's length that can help me with certain things. Yeah. And then I become the mouthpiece for it. I take all the information, put it all together, and I become the mouthpiece, or the person presenting it. But, a lot of it is not actually me. It's just stuff that I've compiled and put together. And then I either put my own spin or my own opinion or my own attitude if it comes to like marketing stuff.
Definitely.
Into it, so
that's so cool. I'm definitely gonna be asking like a bunch of cool business questions. So be prepared.
I was curious. I'm always curious. How did you originally come up with Epic Entertainment?
Yeah. So
the name.
This kind of goes back.
Yeah, the name.
Back to when I worked at AAA, because I was using their email that I wasn't supposed to be using for stuff. But I had a group of friends that I had kind of discussed possibly spinning off AMS and starting my own thing. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. It was very clear that AAA wasn't going to be a forever thing for me, even though it actually is a great company to retire from, because they're really set up for that type of thing. They're a really good company. It just was not
your passion,
not set for me. So I started thinking of all sorts of different names, just random crazy names, and things that are kind of typical, like you would expect, like Elite Entertainment or something. It's like, well, there's like 30,000 elite entertainment companies out there in the company or in the United States. So we went through all these different ones. And I actually did like a small test with a group of lady friends that I had. And I was like, which of these names appeals to you the most, and they went through, and Epic was one of them. And they're like, we really like this one, and it's kind of interesting because
you all did a study.
It was a very small. I mean, I don't want it to sound as formal as it might sound. It was just like, I'd go to a friend and be like, hey, which of these names do you like? And they'd be like, oh, and I was specifically asking females between the ages of like 30 and 40, within that kind of our prime where our clients are. And Epic was the one that came up the most. And I actually hired a company to do a mock-up of a logo for me. And I told them, we're going to be a wedding DJ company and this is what it is. And it's interesting because it really shone a light on how the outside world looks at DJ companies, because all of the logos they sent me had like the word Epic wearing a set of headphones over the top of the word Epic, or like the word Epic with, like dB meters going up and down behind it and stuff. And, that's, I wanted to get beyond that. I'm like, sure, we have headphones and we've got dB meters and all this type of stuff, but like, I don't, that's not what I want. So I literally I drew out on a piece of paper what I wanted, and scanned it on AAA scanner.
I think I see where this complaint came from.
And I emailed it to him using my AAA email address. And he literally just vectorized what I wrote. So if you actually look at the Epic logo, like the lines aren't all the same width. Like some areas are skinnier, because he literally took what I drew on a piece of paper,
just stenciled it,
and just turned it into a vector and was like, is this what you want? I was like, that's perfect. This is exactly what I want. And he's like, oh, I didn't do anything. I just vectorized what you sent me and colored it in. So, and we've even toyed with the idea of changing the Epic logo, making it different, freshening it up, but we still get compliments on our logo. So it's like, we're not going to change anything that is working so well for us still.
Exactly.
So.
And that's huge. Like you mentioned, logos is what appeals to the client. It's like your name and what they see. And like you said, the headphones or the little dB meters is pretty typical. And you're just like, oh, okay. But your logo is like, whoa, it's different. It's awesome. And they book you. So you mentioned that before that you've done other events and stuff. So you haven't, before you got into the wedding industry, like what else were you doing? You said you did school things and like DJing wise, like school things and parties.
Anything that they would let me set up my system at, I would DJ for.
Did your dad ever let you take over one event, like a bar mitzvah or anything?
Not take over an event. I mean, he let me borrow gear for my events because he had way better gear. He had professional gear and I had basically bedroom gear. But he'd let me borrow things like that, like speakers or amplifiers or something that he happened to have. But I never really did an event for him. He worked for another multi-op that he did, a lot of stuff for. And it was just a hobby for me, really. It wasn't really meant to be this.
Yeah.
Although I'd be lying if I didn't say that I always envisioned it being big and making a living doing this. And because it was always kind of like a pipe dream, like, I would love for this to happen someday. And then it just not happened to happen, but it just happened.
It's natural.
Has your pop ever been like, oh, let me break it down at one of your events one day. Let me hit the turntables.
No. He never did a lot of mixing type stuff like that. He wasn't that type of DJ, but I have taken him to a couple of events.
Oh, cool.
Not a lot, not very many. He lives in LA.
Oh,
but he's seen me DJ a few times since Epic, and it always blows his mind because he came up in this industry when it was totally different. So to see what the industry has become and to see that I could make a living off of this part of the industry when it was purely for like some side scratch back in the day for him, I think that blows his mind more than anything else. So, but my dad has always been my personal hero. So he's the one that like I'm always trying to impress. So like I want to make sure that he's happy with what I'm doing and stuff.
So cool.
Awesome. So tell us about this awesome Epic building here. Like, was this the original, like the original warehouse you were talking about?
Yeah, I'm curious.
No. So this building, this is actually our second building. We had our garage, my garage.
Yeah.
We moved out of there and we moved over to Huston Street in Grover Beach, which is in the industrial area. And we were over there for probably 4 years or so, something like that. And then they turned it into the green zone. And so our building got purchased by a marijuana distributor.
Is that what the green zone means?
Yeah. And so they turned it into literally our building now sells pot. So our old office, that's where we go get our weed from. So.
There you go.
So we had to move. And honestly, we didn't want to move into this particular building. It's right on Grand Avenue. There's a lot of traffic and that's good, right? It's very high visibility. It's good. The problem is that, there's less than 2% of the population that's engaged at any given time. Right. So really we're trying to grab eyeballs of less than 2% of the people. So even though we're on a main highway right here, 98% of the people driving by couldn't care less that we're here. They're not paying attention and we have no effect on them. Plus, we've got a lot of equipment in here that we don't really want advertised that there's sound gear in here and things along those lines. So we didn't really want to be here in this particular building, but we were in a pinch. So this building had sat vacant for 2.5 years.
Oh, wow.
So we were able to work out a pretty good deal. We had done the owner of this building's son's wedding like a year before. So we already had a relationship with him. Once we moved in, a couple years, like a year after we moved in, we did one of his other son's weddings. Nice. So we have a great relationship with our landlord. But this building has been all sorts of things. It was a car dealership. It started as a bank. So there's actually a vault in the back. I can show you guys sometime. It's pretty cool.
That's gnarly.
It was a mattress store. It was a real estate office. Whoa. It has been a ton of random things. So it was a church. It was it was a people's kitchen. No, it was a people's kitchen for a while. I mean, it was like, it's been a ton of different things.
That's so cool. Do you feel like having an office building elevates your business? Like, do you feel like it makes it more of an experience for your clients, for any vendor, like any vendor?
When I first got an office, I would say yes, but nowadays I'd actually say no. I don't think that having an office necessarily makes or breaks anyone anymore. We have to have an office because we have so much equipment. We have to have a warehouse somewhere to put all of our stuff. Yeah. But especially post-COVID and the popularity of Zoom and FaceTime and video conferencing, I don't necessarily think that having an office makes or breaks anyone in particular. Obviously, SEO likes it, you know, so that helps. And it does add a certain legitimacy to be able to add a physical address. But now with being able to get a physical address at the UPS store, you can get an address in any town you want. So it's more out of necessity to hold our gear more than anything else. I don't know that the clients could care less one way or the other.
I'm pretty sure when they do come in here, because whenever we come here, every time we're like, "Oh, this is so cool." Yeah. They'll be like, "It looks cool."
Yeah, I'm not going to say that it's not good for my ego, but at the same time, I don't know that it's 100% necessary. You know, we don't book more than the next DJ company because we have an office. Yeah, it's other things that make us book more.
That's true. I feel like sometimes with Zoom calls too, it could be like a little tough because sometimes they could like judge your background. Like, oh, what is he sitting on right there? A little weird looking couch. Where are you? Do you do Zoom calls or do you?
Yeah, we do a lot. Yeah. So, I mean, most of our consults are done via Zoom. That's why I don't really think that, you know, even our conference room is as necessary as it used to be, you know.
It's now the podcast room.
Yeah, that's right.
This is so cool. All right, Anthony, we're just going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Welcome back, guys. We're still here with Anthony from Epic Entertainment. Hey, Anthony, so you've done a talk on workflow at WMBA, right? Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience and give us like a quick overview?
Yeah, so that was that particular talk came about kind of an interesting way. I was at another conference and someone had asked me how we had done something in particular in our database, and I was showing them. I was actually at a cocktail table in a hallway at the Las Vegas Convention Center, and we're standing there. And I was showing a colleague of mine this particular way that we did some of our workflow stuff. And as someone that he knew that I didn't know was walking by, he's like, "Hey, come here, come look at how he does this." And so before I knew it, there was like 15 guys around our computer, and we were all like hunched over looking at this computer, like, which honestly, when I go to conferences, that's the best part of a conference for me, even better than the talks is, you know, those conversations you have at dinner and the conversations you have in the hallways, because that's where you start connecting with people and you get into the weeds about business stuff. But Shannon, who books the speakers for WMBA, happened to be there too. And one of the guys said, "Hey, this guy needs to talk about this at MBA." And she's like, "Sure, you know, well, that could be an option." And I thought, well, okay, I'll never hear from her. Probably. I really didn't think any, because she didn't know me from anyone. You know? Sure enough, like a week after MBA, I got an email and she's like, "You still want to speak on this?" And
nice.
She had done like a background check on me and called a bunch of other colleagues and stuff. And I was like, "Oh, okay." So, and I was already starting to do a little bit of speaking at that point. So it was kind of easy to kind of just keep rolling with it. And I already had a talk that I did on workflow automation specifically, is what I was doing that particular talk on. So I had already had I had to tweak it a little bit to fit what they wanted it to be for MBA. But yeah, so that was a cool one to talk at.
That's so cool. Were you nervous, like public speaking in front of the people?
Yeah.
No, not really. I mean, it's the system that I use every single day. So I know it so well because I'm just in it every day. We're constantly playing in the system and trying to change it and improve it, that talking about it is pretty natural for me.
Well, so, and just a tiny brief summary of the workflow. What can you explain it?
Yeah, I guess the most important thing for workflow is don't stop pestering people until they tell you to F off.
Yeah. That's a really good tip. Seriously, sometimes like when you're emailing, you just kind of like, if you don't hear from them, you're like, man, whatever.
Right.
But feel bad bugging them time after time. But just don't stop.
We've gotten several bookings later on down the road just because of small little things in our workflow automation that 6 months after, when they haven't booked us, that we send them something. And granted, it says, you know, hey, one last ditch effort, you know, I realize you already booked with someone else, but just throwing it out there one more time. Did you also know that we do photo booths and we do lighting and we do this? If you don't need us, all is good. You'll never hear from us again. You know, love, Epic Entertainment, you know? So, and sometimes they'll come back and they'll say, you know what, that DJ that I booked, he fell through and this email came right in time. So what can we work out? And it's perfect. And it works out. And sometimes they book with someone who maybe doesn't do uplighting. So they're like, oh, I didn't even realize you guys did uplighting. And my aunt just gave me an extra $1,000 for my wedding. So yeah, let's do it. You know, this would be great, you know? So.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's just a really good tip. You just never know.
Yeah.
You never know. So Anthony, as an entrepreneur in the wedding industry, what would you say is like one super important element for the wedding vendors to work on when it comes to their business? You're the businessman. Let's hear a good tip here.
Yeah, honestly, I'm all about automation. That's my big thing. Automate things, spend the time to make it so that you can work on other things. And that can be anything. So our system is so automated now that the sales process happens literally on its own after the first contact. So one of our sales guys will set up the first contact. From then on, the whole system automatically does its thing. You know, if they say, I want a contract, boom, a contract goes out to them. And ours is set up to the point that if they have contacted us 2.5 years prior to their wedding, they will get an email from us every 30 days for 2.5 years if they ghost us.
Oh, yeah.
So we've just made it set up so that we just pester and pester and pester. But because we do that, we don't have to spend time chasing emails. And we used to have this yellow pad of paper that we would literally check back and forth, you know, that we emailed this person and we would go through it. Now that it's automated and every part of the sales process is automated, we don't have to worry about that anymore. And that frees us up to either work on new products, to improve the talent, to improve our own talent, to do a lot of other things that were taken up using man labor in the office that doesn't need to be.
That's so cool. And I'm assuming it's not like HoneyBook or something like that you're using for these automated things. It's probably like a...
Yeah, it's actually called DJEP, and it's just to give them a quick little plug. You can automate it. You can set it up to do whatever you want. So there are several companies in our area that use it. It was originally set up for a DJ company, but you can use there's makeup companies that use it. There's venues that use it. There's florists that use it. So you can the thing is it's a shell of a system. And then you can build it to be whatever you want it to be. So it's a little different than HoneyBook. HoneyBook is a really awesome thing. If you really don't want to mess with the automation, it will automate for you. But if you don't want control over how it's automated, then HoneyBook is great. If you really want a lot of control over when things go out and when things don't go out, then some of these other systems, and there's other ones too. There's like Active Campaign. You can, Constant Contact. There's ways you can do it through Constant Contact, through MailChimp. You can do it through a lot of these other CRMs that are out there. But this one is one that we just love to death. Everything is automated in it.
That's super cool. Yeah.
It's super efficient.
It sounds efficient. Jeez.
So can you tell us a little bit more about Central Coast Bride and how you got into that and what it's all about?
Yeah, so Central Coast Bride, of course, being that we're in the middle of COVID, is kind of on the back burner right now. But Central Coast Bride is something that we had always participated in. We were always active partners in Central Coast Bride prior to us owning it. And then at one point, Carla, the previous owner, just was not into it anymore. She was like, this just isn't my thing. She had never been in the wedding industry. She purchased it from Caroline, who started it. She purchased it to be an owner. So it was going to be a business investment for her. But I think she realized that wedding vendors are weird creatures. You don't sell a wedding vendor the same way you sell to a person on the street buying a t-shirt or a widget or a whatever, there's a whole different sales process, and we've got our own language and our own culture. And so, it just wasn't really her thing. She wasn't really feeling it. So when she decided to get out of it, she just kind of said like, "Hey, Anthony, you need, this is yours. See ya." So, I mean, we still keep in contact and stuff, but yeah, it was just kind of like she was over it. And so we kind of took over and switched a few things up, but COVID is changing that again. So we'll see what happens next with CCB.
Yeah. Like speaking of COVID and stuff, what was the overall mission for CCB before or pre-COVID?
CCB is basically just marketing. It's putting couples in contact with vendors and vice versa. That's really the only thing it's for. It's not meant to be like a political group. It's not meant to be a networking group. It's a marketing outlet for wedding vendors purely. Basically what we want to be is the Central Coast version of the Wedding Wire or the Knot. We want to fill that space. We just feel we can do it better than Wedding Wire can or the Knot can. So
like for the clients when they come in, are they expecting huge deals and stuff when they go to the vendors or?
No, not necessarily. I mean, it's purely just putting them in contact with them. So it's just saying, really, when the vendors build their profile on CCB, it's kind of on them to impress the couple. Because at that point, it's how you've worded it, what pictures you've put on there, what videos you've put on there. We can get them there, but then it's kind of on the vendor to impress them enough to reach out and say, "Hey, this looks like the right person for what I'm doing, what I need at my wedding."
Definitely.
So with COVID, speaking of, how else have you adapted, like as Epic Entertainment? Oh my gosh, I cannot talk right now.
Yeah, we've really taken this time to change a lot more than I think a lot of other people are really changing. We're really doing things that are outside of what our core business is, which is DJing. So we started the micro weddings, which is really cool, and it's taken off, and we're super lucky and stoked about that it's taken off the way it has. But at the same time, it's not DJing a wedding. It's not entertaining at a wedding. The micro weddings hinge on the live stream portion of what we're doing. So we've kind of become technicians, cameramen, for the live stream. It's a totally different thing. And so it goes against our core, what we were doing before. And that's just part of our switch. And then of course we've got the GB Eats out in the parking lot, the food trucks and the caterers and stuff doing that.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about that. So when we pulled up, we saw this big old tent out here. Yeah. What's going on here?
Yeah. So basically what we're doing is we're renting space in our parking lot to food trucks and caterers and restaurants that don't necessarily have enough room or space, or maybe they're way off the beaten path. So they need a more localized area to sell food during COVID. And right now it's kind of an experimental phase thing. We got it all set up and ready to rock and roll. But we have had a lot of people that have asked us if we plan on doing this permanently because they feel like the 5 cities need something like this. And at the moment, that's not the plan. But if it becomes something, then it could become something later on down the road. Although that's not what it's intended to do.
So what days are you guys planning on doing, like the people coming out? So
it's Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. And it's all sorts of different food caterers. We've got... Hote is coming out with their truck. The Grinning, I'm going to say this wrong, Grinning Grizzly, I think is the other one that we just booked yesterday. Field to Table is coming out. So, a lot of people that already have food trucks, and some that don't have food trucks too are coming out as well.
Do you guys put like a little DJ out there too and get a little music on?
You know, we originally thought of doing that, but in the spirit of not condoning quote unquote gatherings, we really want people to eat, have a place where they can eat outside where it's well ventilated, and then go home. Right. And then leave. So we don't really want people hanging out for long amounts of time because we don't want anyone getting sick. So
that makes sense. So we always hear about people with COVID, about how they're adapting and how they're changing to make it. What is something that, if there's anything that you find challenging right now, something that's maybe a little struggling or a little hard to get through?
So for me personally, and for the way that my brain works, honestly, COVID is a door opener for me, because I'm an idea guy, and in a normal wedding season, we're so busy with what we're doing that we don't have time to go through a lot of these ideas. It just doesn't make sense to take our eye off the ball to go chasing some of these ideas. So I'd say my problem is putting together and implementing all of the ideas that I'd like to, that now we actually have the time and we have the ability to do. I just don't have the time. And with having our office staff, our office staff is cut way down. So I don't have nearly as many people in the office that could help with some of these ideas, because some of the parts of it I could have other people do, but we just don't have the people in the office right now, because so many of them are on unemployment to make sure that Epic survives.
That's true. And like a lot of vendors that we've interviewed have mentioned that COVID is like somewhat a blessing in disguise in a way, because a lot of people could spend time with their family now a little bit more while still working on different things that they, like you said, weren't able to before or something like that. Now they have, well, you don't have the time, but some people have time. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So to wrap this up, Anthony, let's see if you have any great, like memorable, crazy, fun, or wedding stories. I know you got something.
You want it to be a wedding story?
Anything.
Okay. I mean, usually,
not anything.
Usually the one thing that I answer, there's always that question is tell us something that nobody knows about you.
Yeah, you can do that too.
And my thing is that I still own a pair of leather pants.
Leather pants?
And so I should have worn them today.
We gotta see that.
But from my days in playing shows and rock bands and stuff, I still own my leather pants, and I rock them every now and then. So.
Jeez, do you still play the guitar and stuff?
Not as much as I'd like to. I mean, again, it's a time thing.
Yeah. No kidding. Well, Anthony, this has been amazing. I could keep asking business questions and all your wedding questions for days, honestly. But to end this, where can people find you? Social media, website, everything?
Yeah, so I'm on all the social medias. My email is anthony@epicentertainmentslo.com. And I don't even know what my Instagram handle is, but I'm on there. It's either Anthony Salas Jr. or something like that. But if you look up Anthony, you'll find me.
All right, guys, if you're looking for some epic entertainment, hit up Epic Entertainment and Anthony. Take it easy, guys. But man, that was a dope episode, and I definitely learned a lot. Anthony, I will be coming to you for more questions. You're like my mentor now. Be prepared.
Yeah, Anthony's an amazing wedding industry leader in our local area, and it was super cool getting to hear how he got into weddings.
Definitely. He was a hustler for sure. As always, guys, thanks again for tuning in to the Wedding Vendors Happy Hour. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button to hear from some more amazing wedding professionals. Till then, we'll catch you on episode 24.